The night had fallen heavy over the frontier, draping the wilderness in layers of shadow and silence broken only by the restless sigh of the wind through the towering pines, and in that darkness moved a small, fragile figure, an orphan girl named Clara whose world had been stripped bare of family, warmth, and the simple safety of a home, leaving her to fend for herself with nothing but scraps of memory and the stubborn will to survive. Her days were spent gathering roots and berries, fishing in shallow streams with crude traps she had built from sticks, and wandering through the deep forest where most settlers dared not step, and though fear was her constant companion, hunger often pushed her further than she thought possible, into places where legends whispered of spirits and warriors watching unseen, and it was on one such night, when the moon was swallowed by drifting clouds and the air smelled of rain, that Clara's path collided with fate itself, for as she followed the soft trickle of water to fill her jug at the river, she noticed strange marks in the dirt, long dragging trails that told the story of someone stumbling, someone hurt, someone moving desperately toward the stream but faltering along the way, and curiosity, stronger than fear, pulled her forward. She crept carefully through the undergrowth, her bare feet making no sound against the damp soil, her heart pounding in her chest like a drumbeat of warning, and then she saw him, an old man, his body slumped against the earth beside the water, his breath ragged and shallow, his leg twisted at a grotesque angle, and though she had never been so close to one of the native people she had heard so much about from the settlers, tales both fearful and cruel, she felt no danger in his presence, only pain, only frailty, only the undeniable truth that he was dying if no one helped him, and something deep within her, something that had survived every loss and hardship she had endured, rebelled against turning away, against leaving him to die alone in the cold night, so she knelt beside him, her small hands trembling as she touched his brow, feeling the fever that burned beneath his skin, and she whispered words that carried no certainty but all the hope she could muster, "Please, sir. Don't give up," though she did not know if he even understood her tongue. His eyelids fluttered weakly, his eyes dark and full of age and wisdom and pain meeting hers for a fleeting moment, and in that instant she felt a strange bond, as though the forest itself had chosen her for this moment, and without hesitation she set to work, recalling the half-remembered lessons of her late mother who had once gathered herbs for remedies, binding wounds with simple cloths and mixing poultices from roots and leaves, and though Clara was but a child, she moved with determination, tearing strips from her tattered dress to bind his leg, washing his wounds with water from the stream, gathering herbs she recognized, comfrey for swelling, willow bark for pain, and yarrow for bleeding. And though her knowledge was incomplete, it was guided by desperation, and she built a small fire with shaking hands, feeding it twigs until it gave warmth against the chill, placing it close enough that he might feel life returning. The elder groaned, a sound both weary and alive, and Clara fed him water in small sips, supporting his head gently as if he were her own kin, whispering encouragement through the long hours of the night, her own body trembling with exhaustion, hunger, and fear, but her spirit refusing to yield, and as the firelight flickered across the trees, shadows danced around them, and unseen eyes watched from the darkness, for warriors of his tribe, having followed his trail in silence, now witnessed the strange and moving sight of a frail orphan girl tending their sacred elder as if she were bound to him by blood, fighting the night itself to keep him alive. Clara did not know she was observed, nor that each action she took, each whispered word of comfort, each careful touch, was being etched into the memories of men who would carry the story back to their people, and though her arms ached and her body longed for sleep, she never abandoned him, never ceased tending to the fire, never stopped adjusting the bandage or smoothing the elder's brow, and as dawn crept over the horizon, washing the forest in pale light, the elder stirred with more strength than before, his eyes opening to truly see her, this small stranger, who had stood between him and death, and in halting, broken English he rasped, "You saved me," and Clara, though bone-tired, smiled faintly, answering simply with words that came from the deepest truth within her. No one deserves to die alone, not knowing that this act, this choice to save a life when she herself had so little, would change her destiny forever, for the warriors stepped from the trees at that very moment, their faces fierce but softened by what they had seen, and though Clara froze in terror, believing they had come to punish her, the elder lifted his trembling hand, and the warriors lowered their weapons, their silence heavy with meaning. She had not only saved a man, she had touched the heart of a people, and the girl who had been invisible, unwanted, and forgotten was now woven into a story far greater than herself, though she did not yet know that the next day, the tribe's reaction would be more than she could ever imagine.